Gothamites. If you're new here, hi! I'm London, aka History of the Batman. Over the last 80 years, Bruce Wayne's Batman has flirted, dated, had intimate physical relationships with, had long-term relationships with, gave marriage proposals, and even has married many women within DC Comics, whether mainstream continuity or alternate universes. So for this video, we are going to do our best to cover as many of these lucky or unlucky women within DC Comics that Bruce Wayne's Batman has had some type of relationship with. And ultimately asking ourselves, can Batman truly be happy in his personal romantic life? I'm going to guess no, but we're going to go through all of these different scenarios and women and relationships, and maybe you can be the judge yourself. But before we go down Lover's Lane, why don't you subscribe to this channel and become part of this wonderful Gothamite community? It's fun here, especially today. I mean, we're talking about Batman's many romantic conquests, and who doesn't like that? I mean, you guys do like that. Like the two videos that I've done that have talked about Batman's relationships are like some of the most popular ones on my channel. So clearly this is an interest to you guys as well. So let's just get started because we have tons to go through. But a disclaimer, I tried to put all of them in alphabetical order. So it's not necessarily a ranking of the best to the worst. It was just to help me be more organized in trying to get as many of these characters as possible within this one video. So just a heads up. All right, let's begin. We have Dr. Amina Franklin, who debuted in 2007's Batman issue 659. Amina works in Leslie Thompson's clinic and is the sister to Wayne Franklin, who transforms into the villain Grotesque. While investigating Wayne's mysterious death and possible connection to Grotesque, Bruce recalls dating and having a brief relationship with Wayne's sister Amina. Next is Andrea Beaumont, one of my favorites. She was created to be Bruce Wayne's love interest in the DC animated universe and first debuted in 1993's Batman Mask of the Phantasm. Meeting Bruce in college, having a very long-term relationship, and Bruce even asking Andrea to marry him, she rejects his proposal, and Bruce then decides if he can't be happy in his personal life, he is going to become the Batman. During this film, Batman has to fight the mysterious and deadly Phantasm, and in the end, Batman actually finds out that Phantasm is Andrea Beaumont, who is seeking revenge on the people who have caused her father and her family so much torment in their lives. So of course, it didn't really work out. Next is April Clarkson, who was in Steve Niles and Kelly Jones's 12-issue arc, Batman Gotham After Midnight. April was a GCPD detective who was trying to track down this new murderer in Gotham called Midnight. As Batman is also investigating these murders, Bruce actually starts to date April and really likes her. He's even falling in love with her. But of course, that all screeches to a halt when he discovers that April is actually the murderer Midnight. Next, we have Ava Kirk, who was a character in the Cartoon Network animated series Beware the Batman. Ava was both a childhood friend to Bruce, whose fathers were friends with one another, and Ava and Bruce dated off and on in their early 20s during the time Bruce started to become the Batman. Next is Barbara Gordon, everyone's favorite. Within the Batman Beyond universe, while Dick Grayson was away, Barbara and Bruce Wayne actually had an affair, and when Dick Grayson came back to rekindle his relationship with Barbara, Barbara had to drop the bomb that she was pregnant and it was Bruce's child. But unfortunately, she had a miscarriage, and this entire scenario broke the bond between Dick and Bruce forever within this universe. And of course, we cannot forget that Barbara and Bruce had a sexual relationship within the animated film Batman the Killing Joke, which came out in 2016. Our next lovely lady is Becca. In the Superman Batman arc Torment, when Orion's wife Becca saves Batman from the hands of Darkseid's army, Bruce falls in lust for Becca, and the two of them, feeling very lonely, actually have a very intense embrace. I'm making it as nice as possible, but they were super in lust with one another, let's just put it that way. But unfortunately, at the end of the arc, not only does Becca still choose Orion, who was neglecting her their entire marriage, but after that she was killed by the God Killer. So Bruce in the end is very sad that he lost this woman that he actually had genuine feelings for. even if most of them were purely physical. Our next is Black Canary. Now, Batman and Black Canary have been very flirtatious ever since the 1970s Justice League of America books. But of course, Black Canary and Green Arrow are totally an item. They are the couple. However, one of my favorite times that Black Canary and Batman come together and do the dirty is in Frank Miller's All-Star Batman, I believe issue 7, when they both have a moment on the Gotham City docks while it is raining, and then in the background there are criminals that Batman set on fire. That's literally one of my favorite panels ever from that really fun series. It is one of my guilty pleasures. I've said that many times. But anyway. Next we have Charlotte Rivers, who was first introduced in the New 52's Detective Comics. Charlotte is a Gotham City reporter who is having a relationship with Bruce Wayne. And not just a regular let's go out on a date and walk along the shores and all of that kind of thing, but in the middle of the day we're gonna ravish each other on top of your desk type of relationship. Like they were just going at it. And then at one point Charlotte's like, you know what would be really nice? Actually take me on a date with all of my clothes on. And they do try to date. But then when Charlotte goes undercover to try to find some bad seeds within the criminal Gotham City underground, Batman and Charlotte kind of clash, and the whole experience just ruins her and Bruce's relationship. So Bruce and Charlotte aren't having any meetings in his office anytime soon. Our next is Chase Meridian, who was the love interest in Joel Schumacher's 1995 film Batman Forever. Dr. Chase Meridian is a brilliant psychologist who is obsessed with the dual identity of Batman and Batman himself. And what woman doesn't fall into that trap? Of course, Chase falls in lust with the Batman, but Batman has to save her from the clutches of the Riddler and Two-Face. Our next is Cheetah. Now, this one is more of an unrequited love, not necessarily a Batman Cheetah dated, but in an episode of the Justice League, after the Injustice League captures Batman, Cheetah has to watch over him while he's in captivity and starts talking to him and realizes that Batman is actually a pretty good listener. And what woman doesn't love it when a man actually sits and listens to what she has to say? Men, take notes. And because she's so caught up in Bruce being actually a good guy listening to her, she lands a really nice big kiss on him. But of course, Batman really isn't feeling it. He's just like, I need to get out of these chains. I need to go fight Lex Luthor. Like, I'm not into it. So this one isn't really a Batman and Cheetah relationship. This is just Cheetah realizing that Batman can actually be a good guy. But she did land a really good one on him, so I had to throw her in here. Our next love interest is Dawn Golden, who is a David Finch character who was introduced in 2011's Batman The Dark Knight. Dawn and Bruce were childhood friends, which turned into a romantic relationship early into their adult years, but then Dawn breaks up with him. How sad. But then it gets really weird because years later, when Bruce is now the Batman, has to team up with the demon Etrigan because Dawn's father is using Dawn as a sacrifice to save his life. And so and so Batman and Etrigan have to fight these demons from hell to try to save her soul. But unfortunately, it does not work out for Dawn, and her father is successful within the sacrifice. It's a really dark story, but it's pretty good, and you feel kind of sad for Dawn because she didn't want any of that. She didn't want anything to do with demons and sacrifice and cults, and it was just a mess. It was so not her fault. Our next woman is Glinda Mark. Now, typically in comics, Glinda is the girlfriend of Jason Blood, who embodies the demon Etrigan that we just talked about. However, in Alan Grant's Elseworld story, Batman Demon: A Tragedy, Glinda and Bruce are actually dating. However, Bruce is the actual vessel for the Bat Demon Etrigan, and while he is asleep in his subconscious, Etrigan is out murdering guilty and innocent people within Gotham City. So with the help of Merlin, who is Alfred Pennyworth in this book, which I always think is so cool, Bruce is able to go into his subconscious and has to fight Etrigan to stop him from killing innocent people. But in the end, Etrigan actually kills Glinda. But Alfred does give him a forgetful spell, so Bruce doesn't even know Glinda even existed. So her death doesn't affect him. It's a really tragic story. That's why tragedy is in the title, but it's really good and you should check it out. Our next is Harley Quinn. I am wearing the shirt today. I am having a Terry and Rachel Dodson moment here. I love their run. I love the way that they design Harley Quinn, I swear. But anyway, Harley is kind of in the same boat as Cheetah. Batman has never really been infatuated or in love or in lust or in like with Harley, but there are a couple times that Harley has had some flirtatious fun with Batman, and one of my favorites is of course the Batman the Animated Series episode Harley's Holiday, after Batman takes her back to Arkham Asylum, and Harley, being thankful for Bruce trying to understand what she's going through, lands a big kiss on him, which I always think is fun. And of course there are books within the New 52 where Harley is very, very flirtatious with Batman, but he's just like, that's just not my thing. Go be with Joker. Our next lady is Jana Hudson. Jana and Bruce Wayne met at a charity event and they flirted a little bit and decided to go on a date. But of course, Bruce Wayne's agenda as Batman kind of messed up that whole plan. But Jana, of course, turned out to be a villain that Batman actually was chasing down, called the White Rabbit, because Jana is able to duplicate herself. So she could be Jana here, but then the White Rabbit here, and of course the White Rabbit is able to seduce men, and she was trying to seduce Batman while he was trying to apprehend her. And with the White Rabbit working with other villains such as Bane and Scarecrow, Batman just had to take all of them out completely, and Jana and Bruce never really got to do anything. They didn't even get to be on a date, which kind of sucks. But usually Batman falls for the bad girls. You will see that a lot in this list if you haven't already. Our next lovely lady is Jennifer St. Cyr. I think I'm pronouncing the last name right. I might not be. I am sorry. Jennifer is only in the one-shot Batman Reign of Terror, and she's actually the wife of Captain Bruce Wayne, and they both live in Paris, France. And of course at night, Bruce Wayne is the vigilante, the Batman, and he tries to protect the Parisian streets and even has to go up against this version's Two-Face. Our next lady is Jessica Dent, who is in Jeff Johns and Gary Frank's Batman Earth 1. The twin sister of Harvey Dent, both Harvey, Jessica, and Bruce were actually childhood friends, but then as they grew older, Jessica and Bruce kind of flirted a little bit and even started dating, and they had a somewhat long-term relationship. Even though Harvey really wasn't feeling Bruce kind of being with his sister, he just did not like it. After the tragic death of Harvey Dent, Jessica literally snaps and goes insane and decides to burn half of her face, which blossoms this dangerous split personality very similar to Two-Face. And because of this, Bruce unfortunately has to apprehend his once girlfriend that he really cares about, because now she has gone insane. That's lame. Our next is Jezebel Jet, and God, I do not like this person. She is such a horrible woman. I'm sorry. Jezebel is one of our love interests that has been a very long-term girlfriend. It was first introduced in Grant Morrison's arc, Batman R.I.P. A small ruler of an African country, Jezebel and Bruce met at a art gallery event. And Bruce, right off the bat, is so smitten with Jezebel. And they date, and he becomes so comfortable with her. Not only does he tell her that he is Batman, but he even invites her into the Batcave and just exposes everything about his secret life. That's how sprung he is. But nothing good ever lasts, because Jezebel actually reveals to be part of the Black Glove organization who is trying to take down the Batman. So this was just all a ruse. This was just her trying to get in there and trying to take down Batman. She didn't even really love him. This was all a game. I mean, her name is Jezebel. We should have known. Of course, that romance ended and Bruce had to fight not only Jezebel, but Dr. Hurt and the entire Black Glove organization. It was a mess. Our next lady is Jillian Maxwell, who was a one-shot love interest within Jeff Loeb and Tim Sale's Batman Legends of the Dark Knight Halloween Special Issue 1, which is also the precursor to Batman the Long Halloween, if you love that 13-issue arc, which I do. Bruce just had a really huge crush on her, but of course he learns that Jillian just likes to play with wealthy men's hearts to try to get their wealth. I mean, that was it. She's kind of a gold digger. That's all it really comes down to in the simplest of terms. And not only that, she would try to do petty crimes. So not only was Bruce heartbroken that his crush was a bad person, but he also had to take her to jail because she was a criminal. It's just, do you see a pattern so far? I mean, we're almost halfway through this alphabet. I don't know. Anyway, our next is Julia Pennyworth, which I always think is super duper weird. If you didn't know, Alfred Pennyworth had a daughter named Julia Remarque, whose mother, being Mademoiselle Marie, met Alfred while he was a medic during World War II. Eventually, Julia went to go search for Alfred and found him at Wayne Manor, and she even stayed within Wayne Manor for a while because Alfred's like, this is my daughter. She needs a place to live, and I need to get to know her. She needs to be here. And eventually, Julia and Bruce actually went out on a couple of dates. I think that's so weird because Alfred is like Bruce Wayne's dad, so I don't know. It's just odd. And Julia was the one that didn't even really see sparks fly between them, so the relationship really didn't go anywhere. And for some reason, that bummed Alfred out. I don't get it. I don't get it. All right, our next leading lady is Julie Madison, and she is so important because not only is she the very first love interest that Bruce Wayne's Batman has ever had, but when she was introduced in 1939, Bruce and Julie were actually engaged to be married. And of course, Batman has to save Julia from hypnotic werewolves and deranged monks, you know, because he loves her and he needs to protect his fiance. But in the end, Julie is actually the one to break off her engagement with Bruce because after being saved by Batman a couple of times, she says, you know, you're just a very dull, complacent millionaire and I need an exciting man like Batman. I hate that for him. But in the New 52, she is revamped and Bruce and her do have kind of a nice fling and he is happy. So I guess that's something. Even in one modern comic, Alfred imagines that Bruce and Julie actually get married and have a family because Alfred really just wants him to have a normal, happy life because he's his dad, and what parent doesn't want their child to truly be happy? All right, our next woman is Kathy Cain. So in 1956, when the rumors were just swirling around that Bruce Wayne's Batman and Dick Grayson's Robin were in some type of homosexual relationship, which was completely false and completely wrong, and this all kind of issued in the Comics Code Authority because apparently comics were corrupting the youth of America and all that jazz, DC Comics actually created the character Kathy Cain, who debuted in Detective Comics 233, and she wasn't just a crime fighter known as Batwoman, but she was really just supposed to be a love interest for Bruce Wayne so the rumors can just kind of stop. But she really wasn't a crime fighter. She was just kind of a lipstick crime fighter, and I only say that to say she just liked to dress up in the costume and say, oh, I'm Batman's girlfriend. Like, it wasn't like anything really crime fighter, vigilante, you know, trying to save the city. It was all for the romance. So by the time the 1960s rolled around and they wanted an actual heroine to be part of the Batman family, that is when Barbara Gordon's Batgirl came into the picture. And then sooner rather than later, Kathy Cain kind of went away. You see her briefly in the 70s when she attends a wedding, but really she's not part of the Batman family anymore. And of course, Kathy Cain is revamped to Kate Kane in 2006 by Grant Morrison, and she is the current Batwoman. But originally, she was only created to be Bruce Wayne's girlfriend, which is Our next lady is Laura Avion, who was in the 1997 Elseworlds Batman Mask, who was a prima ballerina that Bruce Wayne kind of had a crush on and really liked. Of course, once Bruce Wayne finds out that Laura is being stalked while she's on stage, he has to dress up as Batman to try to investigate before Laura actually loses her life. And it's all within this huge Phantom of the Opera-esque book, and it is awesome if you are a fan of English literature, theater, mixed with Batman. I personally love it. Our next leading lady is Linda Page, who is the girlfriend after Julie Madison breaks off Bruce Wayne's engagement in 1939/1940. A socialite and a nurse, Linda and Bruce kind of start dating off and on. Relatively throughout the early 40s, Linda is Batman's girlfriend. I mean, even in the 1943 serial Batman, she was the main love interest. So she was a very important part within the golden age of Batman stories. But after a few times that Batman and Robin had to save not only Linda, but also her father, Linda did the same thing as Julie Madison did. She said, you know what, this was all great, and I love the way that Batman is thrilling and exciting and saves me, and Bruce, you're just this dull millionaire that doesn't have any fire under him or any passion, so I can't be with you. I need a man that is passionate about something. That is just the funniest, most ironic thing within Batman's entire mythology. It's crazy. Next we have Lois Lane. Yes, that Lois Lane. Superman's Lois Lane. And of course, throughout the golden and silver age of DC Comics, when Batman and Superman were working together in World's Finest Comics, Batman and Lois Lane cross paths all the time. But because of this, there has been an imaginary story where Batman and Lois Lane actually get married, and one of my favorite things ever is in the 1997 DC animated movie, the Batman Superman movie, World's Finest. Lois Lane and Bruce Wayne actually have a full-on relationship, and Lois was even going to leave Metropolis and go work at the Gotham Gazette in Gotham City to be with Bruce. But then once she found out that Bruce Wayne was Batman, she's like, I am so done trying to date men with capes because it just doesn't work out for me, and she goes back to Metropolis. I mean, Bruce is Mr. Stereo Girl in so many scenarios, and it's hilarious to me. And even in a 2014 Batman and Superman book, Lois and Bruce kind of flirt. I mean, it's just, I don't know. I guess it's just easy to flirt with Bruce Wayne because he's Bruce Wayne, very suave, debonair guy. I get it, I suppose. It's just funny because you just know that Clark and Lois are just meant to be. Our next lovely lady is Lorna Shore, and she was in the Batman Confidential book Lovers and Madmen. Lorna is a museum curator, which is so close to my heart because I have been a museum curator. Bruce and Lorna actually dated in their early 20s before Bruce became Batman. But then once he did become Batman and he was fighting Joker, he cared about Lorna so much that he decided, I can't date you anymore. Because in his mind, if I date someone and I have all of these enemies trying to get me, they're going to try to get my loved ones as well, and I don't want to put her in any danger, which is a very typical superhero thing to do. So I get it. Our next lovely lady is Malory Moxon. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with the last name Moxon because Lou Moxon was the one that hired Joe Chill to kill Thomas and Martha Wayne, who is Bruce Wayne's parents. So that's already a red flag. But in the post-crisis, within the 2000s, it is revealed that Malory and Bruce were actually childhood friends. And then later in life, they started to date and have an actual relationship. But then once Bruce finds out that Malory is actually a crime boss like her father and is within this whole criminal organization, he decides to break it off with her because he really doesn't want to date a criminal, especially someone within the Moxon clan. Our next lady is Madeline Corbett, and this one I think is a trip. Madeline and Bruce Wayne met while Madeline was working on the campaign for the next Gotham City mayor. She automatically became smitten with Bruce. Now, although Bruce did a little bit of flirting here and there, Madeline became obsessed with Bruce. And at one point, she even asked this boy to marry him. And of course, Bruce, being the sensible man that he is, says, I don't want to marry you. We kind of just met. And because of this, Madeline kills herself and tries to frame Bruce for the murder to get back at him because he didn't accept her marriage proposal. Ooh. It's like, girl, what is you doing? I don't understand. Anyway, so she didn't make it. You don't really see her anymore, which is probably for the best. Not in the way that she went out, obviously, but I don't know. That's just troubling. Our next love interest is a woman named Mio. Now, I actually talked about this recently on Instagram at History of the Batman, if you are interested, in my History of Batman's training session. Now, Bruce Wayne, before he became Batman, when he was traveling abroad to get his mind, body, and soul ready to become the vigilante of Gotham City, was training under martial artist Shihan Matsuda. While in this village, Bruce actually meets Mio, and they have kind of a very nice relationship over the several months that Bruce lives here. But unfortunately, Bruce finds out that Mio actually didn't really like him, and it was a whole setup because Shihan's wife was like, he's being a neglected husband and I just need him to be taken out. Shihan's wife tries to murder Bruce with the help of Mio. And in the end, it is a bloodbath because Shihan, the wife, and Mio all die. And then Bruce is like, that's lame. But then later you find out that Mio actually survives and is working for Ra's al Ghul. So either way, she was just a bad person that tricked Bruce into liking her just so she can get in there to kill him. So far, it's just lots and lots and lots of bad luck. Our next lady is Natasha Trusovic, who is a Ukrainian concert pianist who meets Bruce Wayne, and they actually really like each other and start dating for a very long time. And Bruce becomes so comfortable with her, he tells her that he's Batman. But then for some reason, Mad Hatter knows that Natalia knows who Batman is and kidnaps her and tortures her to death to try to find out who Batman is. But of course, Natalia, being the good girlfriend she is, never said it, and unfortunately she dies. Once again, very lame. Next we have Nocturna, who is a very, very fun character from the 80s. Like, she is one of my most favorite, like, femme fatales that came out of the 1980s. So Natasha Knight was an astronomer, and after a horrible accident, not only did her skin lose all pigment and she became just full-on white, like computer paper white, but she also has these hypnotic pheromones similar to poison ivy, and she can seduce any man. So of course she seduced Batman, and they have a very intimate physical relationship with one another. And because she is able to manipulate his mind with these pheromones, during this time Bruce Wayne is trying to adopt Jason Todd. Nocturna wants Bruce's wealth, so she decides to gain full custody of Jason Todd himself in order to get the money. It's a whole scheme. And in the end, Batman and even Catwoman have to join forces to stop Nocturna, and then Bruce is eventually able to get the full custody back of Jason Todd, which is all good. But Nocturna, she was a tricky one. Battery died, sorry. Our next one is a femme fatale, Poison Ivy. Now, Pamela and Bruce have had many embraces and kisses over her entire history, even in her debut book. In 1966's Batman 181, Poison Ivy kisses Batman, and like, I love the panel because to like Robin's horror, he's like, oh no, don't do it. Like, he is just shook, and I just love it anyway. But similar to Nocturna that we just talked about, Poison Ivy has these pheromones that can seduce any man. And so, of course, in many, many, many scenarios, she does this to Bruce. Whether it's an animation in Batman the Animated Series, or even books like Batman the Long Halloween, she is just able to get into Batman's brain and make him do whatever she wants for a brief period of time. But in one story, Batman and Poison Ivy actually do develop real feelings for one another, not just because of the pheromone. Especially when Poison Ivy decides she doesn't want to be Poison Ivy anymore. She really wants to be Pamela Isley. But that love never really blossoms. See what I did there? And she's just part of the femme fatale rogues that we all know and love. Our next lady is Rachel Caspian, who was first introduced in Batman Year 2. Bruce meets Rachel and they have a loving relationship, and Bruce actually asks Rachel to marry him. But what Bruce didn't know at the time is that the villain, the Reaper, is actually Rachel's father. And when Batman and Reaper have to fight, Reaper dies from the injuries from that altercation, and because of that, Rachel then hates Bruce for killing her father, technically, and breaks off the engagement, the relationship, everything, leaving Bruce brokenhearted. But then he was like, it had to be done, girl. I don't know what to tell you. All right, our next is Rachel Dawes, who of course is central within the Christopher Nolan Batman film franchise, the Dark Knight trilogy. She was introduced in 2005's Batman Begins, and we learned that Rachel and Bruce were childhood friends, and Rachel even liked Bruce. But then once Bruce became Batman, she was like, I need Bruce. I don't need Batman. So when you're done being Batman, come call me and we can be together. And so you spill into 2008's The Dark Knight, and Rachel is actually dating District Attorney Harvey Dent, who is doing great for the city and is not hiding behind a mask. And then Christian Bale, who plays Bruce Wayne, is like, man, Harvey Dent has Rachel because he's doing the same thing that I kind of am doing, but he isn't hiding behind a mask. He's not this random vigilante. So maybe I should give up the mantle for her. But then, of course, after Joker's horrible scheme, Rachel dies in a warehouse explosion, and she isn't even able to tell Bruce that she chose Harvey over him and was going to marry Harvey Dent. And Bruce doesn't even find that out until the final film, The Dark Knight Rises, thanks to Alfred Pennyworth. And then Bruce takes out his anger on Alfred, and then like Alfred leaves the mansion, and it's just a whole crazy thing. But in this universe, Rachel Dawes is the main love interest, but she was just not down with the whole Batman thing. She just wanted the man and not the bat. Our next lovely lady is Samantha Vanaver, who was actually in the animated film Batman vs. Robin. Of course, like many, she was a wealthy socialite. She met Bruce Wayne, and they actually started to date. And they got so close that even Samantha and Damian had a heart-to-heart. Of course, that doesn't matter because not only did Samantha have a thing with Talon, and when I mean a thing, they didn't just like date, but they were like intimate with one another all the time, but she's also the Grand Master of the Court of Owls. So she's just extra evil. And there was no way that that could work out. And of course, Batman has to fight the Talon and the Court of Owls and then stop with Samantha, and it's a whole thing. So Samantha turned out to be a bad guy who was dating and being with the bad guys. It's just bad guys, man. I don't know. Our next lovely lady is Sasha Bordeaux. Now this one is very, very interesting because she seems like a complete ride or die chick. So Sasha becomes Bruce Wayne's new bodyguard, which I always think that that's really great. And both Bruce and Sasha are set up for the murder of Bruce's then girlfriend, Vesper Fairchild, and they both go to Blackgate Prison. And of course, Bruce Wayne, being Batman, escapes Blackgate and has to go out kind of on the lam, and that is in Bruce Wayne Fugitive. And then the organization Checkmate actually breaks out Sasha. So after they're both out of prison in their own way, Bruce and Sasha meet up, and Bruce confesses his love for her, and they have a kiss and they embrace. But then Sasha was like, I do love you, Bruce, but I am part of Checkmate now, and there's no way that we can be together because they have such a hold on me because they got me out of prison. So of course Bruce is heartbroken that the one woman at this point that he really does love, he can't be with. Our next is Selina Kyle. Now, do I have to explain this one? I will, but it's just insane. The Bat and the Cat are like the biggest like shipped relationships that Batman ever has within DC Comics. She was introduced in 1940s Batman issue #1 and already said, give up this life. Let's, do crimes and steal jewels and be one. Like already she was all in for Batman. In the regular continuity, they would flirt, Catwoman would kiss him here and there, but even in the pre-Crisis Earth 2 continuity, Bruce Wayne and Selina Kyle actually got married and had a child called Helena Wayne, who would eventually become Huntress. And just look at any media. Batman and Catwoman, they are supposed to be together. I honestly think that. We know that Batman and Catwoman were actually supposed to get married. And then in 2018's Batman issue 50 was supposed to be the wedding issue, but Catwoman decides, you know what? Being Batman is way more important for the city than me being selfish and having Bruce Wayne all to myself and him having a regular life, so they didn't get married. But maybe this relationship will finally be complete because Tom King and Clayman in 2020 are doing their own short series called Batman Catwoman that just focuses on the relationship. So fingers crossed that they end up together and maybe they will tie the knot. You never know. Our next woman is Chandra Kinsel. First appearing in the early 90s arc Batman Nightfall, Chandra actually rehabilitates Bruce after his back is broken by Bane, and Bruce and Chandra actually have a flirtatious banter, and they actually start liking each other. It's the classic Florence Nightingale syndrome, I think, but whatever. But once Chandra started to treat Jack Drake, who was Tim Drake's father, they are both kidnapped by her brother, Benedict Asp, who ultimately drugs her and actually reverts Chandra's brain into the mindset of a child. And because of this, Batman apprehends Asp, but then has to place Chandra in a mental institution to try to heal her, which is heartbreaking and sad and really messed up. So Chandra and Bruce's relationship never really gets to flourish. All right, our next is Silver St. Cloud, and I freaking love Silver St. Cloud. She is one of the real ones, let me tell you. Silver St. Cloud was first introduced in Steve Englehart's 1970s now iconic story, Batman's Strange Apparition. From the first time Bruce saw her, he was just smitten, and they actually had a very, very long-term relationship. And fun fact that I'm sure I've mentioned in one of these videos before, Silver St. Cloud is the first woman that you actually know within comics that Bruce Wayne has spent the night with, because that was never established in any other book. Even though he's dated women like Julie Madison and Linda Page, and we'll get to Vicki Vale soon, Silver St. Cloud is the first one to say, woo, you gave me a workout last night, like literally. And then of course the end of Strange Apparitions is sad because Silver St. Cloud figures out herself that Batman and Bruce Wayne are one and the same, and realizes, I am afraid that every single night when you go out and you're Batman, you're gonna get super hurt, you're gonna die, and I just can't live that life wondering if you're gonna come home in a body bag, so I literally cannot be with you even though I am in love with you. And this actually sends Batman to a really dark place, and he really questions his role of being Batman and if it's worth it, because he truly loved Silver St. Cloud. And Silver St. Cloud has made many appearances in later comics, from Dark Detective in the 2000s to even on TV in Gotham, but the one that sticks out the most is Kevin Smith's 2010 book The Widening Gyre, where Bruce Wayne and Silver St. Cloud actually rekindle their relationship and they have a full whirlwind romance, and Bruce actually asks Silver St. Cloud to marry him and reveals to her that he is Batman, because of course this is post-crisis. So all of that happened before when she found out that Bruce was Batman was pre-crisis. I hope that's not confusing. But of course Silver St. Cloud says, yes, I will marry you. And then what happens? The villain Automatopoeia slits her throat and she dies, and that's the end of the book. So no wedding, none of that, no kids. We're not doing that. Her throat got cut. And that's that. Anyway, let's go to the next one. Our next lady is Susan Maguire, who is part of the DC animated universe. She is seen in the new Batman Adventures episode Chemistry, where Bruce and Susan meet at a charity ball, and Bruce is smitten, and he is so in love, so much so that he asks Susan to marry him, and they actually get married. Now, everyone else in the Batman family is like, this is weird. Why is Bruce just so okay marrying this woman that he just met? Dick Grayson is like, I am not having it. Well, it turns out that Susan is a creation of Poison Ivy herself in order to take Batman out of the equation of Gotham City so the villains can rule. But of course, all of that is fixed. Poison Ivy is apprehended, the marriage is annulled, and Bruce is lonely once again. Our next one is Talia Al Ghul. We all know Talia Al Ghul. She is an awful human being. Of course, she was introduced in 1971, and she saves Bruce's life many, many times, and even knows that Bruce Wayne and Batman are one and the same. And ever since they met, she has been his beloved. They have kisses, they have embraces. Bruce is literally like obsessed with this chick. And this even goes further. In the 1987 book, Batman, Son of the Demon, when Talia and Bruce actually get married, they consummate the marriage, and Talia becomes pregnant. But then Talia decides that his life and him being Batman is way more important. So she says, I lost the baby. We should get this marriage annulled. We shouldn't be married. But then, of course, you learn in the end, Talia didn't have a miscarriage, and she actually had the baby. Which, what? Going through the 1990s and the early to mid 2000s, Talia is just a current figure within Batman's life because she really is one of Bruce Wayne's great loves. And of course, in 2006's Grant Morrison book, Batman and Son, you find out that Talia and Bruce do have a child together, and that is Damian Wayne, who is the current Robin. Now, Talia has a problem. She cannot decide if she should be faithful to her beloved Bruce Wayne, or should she be faithful to her father, who is the eco-terrorist and arch nemesis of Batman, Ra's al Ghul. Talia does care about Batman, But Talia also cares about Roz. She doesn't know how to choose, so she's super fickle, which does not make for a good love interest. I'm sorry. And she is kind of an evil person for saying, you know what, you can kill my child that I gave birth to. It's totally fine. She's just such a bad person. I cannot see that. I can't. Our next woman is Vesper Fairchild, who was a long-term girlfriend to Bruce Wayne and first debuted in 1997's Batman issue 540. And Vesper Fairchild had her own thing. She was a TV and radio personality. She met Bruce Wayne. They had a whirlwind romance. They were together for a bit. Then David Cain, who is one of the best assassins in the DC universe and the father of Cassandra Cain, who has been Batgirl and now currently is Orphan, shot and killed Vesper and set it up so it looked like Bruce Wayne committed the murder, which sets off the whole thing of Bruce Wayne murder, Bruce Wayne fugitive, and of course that's when Bruce and Sasha actually go to prison in Blackgate because of this murder. The whole Vesper Fairchild and Bruce Wayne romance kind of was cut to a halt for a little bit, but for a few years they were pretty hot and heavy. All right, 3 more to go. Let's go. Our next love interest is one of the most well-known probably in all of Batman's mythos, right next to Catwoman and Talia Al Ghul, and that is Vicki Vale, who debuted in 1948's Batman issue 49. A very vivacious reporter for the Gotham Gazette, Vicki Vale has always had her sights set on Batman while being smitten by millionaire Bruce Wayne, but of course could not figure out that both are one and the same, which is a usual thing that happens, as we've seen on this list. Vicki Vale has appeared not just in comics, but also films, such as 1989's Batman, and of course, like I mentioned earlier, one of my favorite Batman books, Frank Miller's All-Star Batman, especially in issue number 1. She is the very sensual Vicki Vale that is just so excited to go on a date with Bruce Wayne, and then everything really bad happens after that. Vicki Vale stands the test of time as one of Batman's greatest love interests and will never stop trying to figure out who is under the cowl of the Dark Knight. Alright, our next is Wonder Woman. Now, Wonder Woman and Batman have basically, like for the most part in comics, a very platonic, we are part of the Trinity, we are allies, we are co-workers relationship. And the closest they've ever gotten is in JLA issue 80 from 2003 when Batman and Wonder Woman actually kiss. And then in the following book, they actually do this whole simulation type thing where Bruce and Diana can actually see what it would be like if they both were together. And then they basically realize that they need to be friend zoning one another and they are just best being super friends. I think people ship Wonder Woman and Batman so much because in the DC animated universe, in particular in the show Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Wonder Woman and Bruce Wayne flirt constantly. Personally, I don't really see that as the best match. I don't. I almost prefer Superman and Wonder Woman being together, especially when they were together for those few years in the New 52, even though Lois Lane is his true love. I liked Superman and Wonder Woman together. But anyway, Wonder Woman in some way has been a love interest of Batman. Alright, our last love interest is one of my favorites, and she's just one of my favorite characters. And that is Zatanna. And I feel like she is another hopeful that fans want to see. They want to see Zatanna and Batman come together in some way. And although they have flirted in episodes in the Batman the Animated Series, in particular Zatanna, which is a really good episode by the way, and especially in Paul Dini and Dustin Nguyen's arc in Detective Comics 843 and 844, Zatanna actually reveals to Bruce that the only reason why she really hasn't pursued Bruce being in a relationship with her is because she can tell that Bruce, being Batman, is way more dedicated to his own inner demons than he can be to anyone else, including her. So that's why she can't really be in a relationship with him, which is a great way to end this entire list of Batman flirtations, girlfriends, love interests, fiancés, wives, whatever you want to call it. In this video, I highlighted 4 44 women that Batman has had some type of relationship with, whether it was unrequited or flirtatious or just one date or a long relationship or an engagement or even marriage. We've gone through a lot. Bruce has tried. He's tried over the last 80 years to find personal happiness within a romantic relationship. All of these women just don't cut it. It does not make the cut. It is always bad. They're either villains, or they think that Bruce Wayne is boring and they like Batman more, or they think that he's more dedicated to being Batman, or that him being Batman is more important than having a loving relationship. And that is why I honestly think that Bruce Wayne's Batman can never be happy in his personal life. Ever. Bruce Wayne has to be Batman because that is his destiny, his fate. We've seen that in different comics. But you do wish that Bruce could actually be happy in a romantic way, just happy in general. Crack a smile. Like, it's okay. But obviously, we're still working on the love life, and hopefully one day he will find true happiness with the woman that he loves. And hell, maybe that's Selena. Maybe we'll find that out in 2020. I don't know. But I actually do hope Bruce finds happiness, but honestly, I don't think he will. And I'm so sorry that this is ending on kind of a sad note. Thank you guys so much for watching this video about every single girlfriend that Batman has ever had in DC Comics. That probably will be the title of this video, and even though some weren't girlfriends, I mean, basically most were. I hope I highlighted most of them for you. Maybe I missed some here and there from an Elseworld, I don't know, but I tried to research and find as many as possible that I thought had interesting backstories and had interesting encounters with Bruce Wayne. Interesting enough to actually put in this video. So I really do hope you enjoyed it. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a bat thumbs up. As always, all of my social media is linked in the description below, including Instagram @HistoryOfTheBatman. So why don't you give it a follow and become a Gothamite? Check out my videos for DC Comics, DC Fans channel, and of course, please subscribe to this channel so you can become a part of this Batman community. It would mean so much to me. Oh, also let me know in the comments below who is your favorite love interest of Batman. I'm just curious to know. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will have more History of the Batman soon, right here on YouTube. Remember, Gothamites, all about peace, love, and Batman. Bye.